Versa best company.
Versa Business System.
It's the best.
Versa Business Systems.
Versa Business System.
Welcome to the Versa Business Tips Podcast. I'm your host, founder, and CEO of Versa Business Systems, Shaheen Mazloom. We're here with two guests today. We have George, the founder and CEO of Responsive Answering Service and Business Development. Jessica, how are you guys doing today?
Hi, Shaheen. Doing great. Thank you for having
Very
us.
great. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you again. Really excited to be here.
Absolutely, man. So George, tell me a little bit about about your company, what you guys specialize in, and what you do for those out there that don't know
Yeah,
you.
Responsive Answering Service. We are a 24/7 contact center, and we help business owners and businesses answer their phones, dispatch messages, and help basically be the call center or the receptionist for businesses.
Right. Now, do you guys do this for business owners as well, like on their personal cell phone?
Absolutely, we can do it for their personal cell phone, to their staff. So, quick examples: an HVAC company or a plumbing company or any kind of service company, they need someone to answer the phones at all times. If it's a very small business and you're a sole practitioner relying on your cell phone, you might be at another job. If you have a bigger service company and you don't want to have a receptionist or have several people just answering phones, we would take that for you and basically do the message taking, dispatching your technicians to jobs, taking emergency calls, taking overnight calls, you name it. For doctors, we do the same. There's on-call nurse, on-call doctor. For legal industry, we're helping attorneys that need those lead calls vetted out or certain types of calls that are filtered and vetted out and sent to them. So a variety of call answering and message taking, basically.
Very cool. And now, is this all done with humans, or is this something more technology AI based?
Yeah, so it's human answering. It is live answering. There's definitely more and more tech out there with AI, with bots. And, those things work great for certain industries, but there are certain industries that still need a human to answer. If you think about if a loved one's going to call your doctor's office, you want a person to listen to that and help out. And same with like an emergency service repair.
I mean, I feel like any business nowadays, right? Like if you've got a robot or an AI, taking the call, it's not going to go over as well as if you've got a human. Now, so are your people, is it more like VAs in the Philippines, or is it people here in the US? Like, what do you guys generally use?
Great question. So we have our workforce is about 90% US, 10% nearshore. To give you a little business background, I have a couple of other businesses, and I had a contact center actually abroad. I still do for another business, and we started helping some U.S. businesses answer their phones, and I stumbled on the answering service industry, which is a niche within the call center space. So I went out and acquired about 7 or 8 answering service companies just over a decade ago in Pittsburgh, in Fort Myers, Florida, in Atlanta, and several other, mostly in the East Coast. And I basically put them together, and we operated U.S. brick and mortar call centers up until COVID times. During COVID, we went fully remote in the U.S., and we still, that 10% piece that's nearshore is in Nicaragua. We have a physical call center there for my
Okay.
other business, as well as for response to small, small.
I got you. So your other businesses use your services.
Yes, but we actually have a whole separate set of call centers for. So I have a business called Geeks on Site, a nationwide tech service company with technicians here in the U.S. that will go to your home or office. But a lot of the back office
Right.
and contact center is done from mostly Latin America, and so I
Uh-huh.
have a call center in Nicaragua, in Peru as well, and a few other places. So and a lot of at home as well now as well. But that is a whole other division. And again, I got into this answering service industry because I already knew how to run a call center, and I knew
Right.
businesses needed the same service. Actually, I'll share an interesting, just tying it all back to answering service. When I started my tech service business here in Miami, I was 21. I was in college. I had a full time job at a bank. I was a full time student at FIU at the university here. So what
Right.
I did is I hired an answering service, a local Miami answering service, to take the calls for clients that needed service and then to dispatch myself as technician or my technicians here in the Miami area. So I was already familiar with answering services. And then, fast forward a decade later, I started acquiring those types of companies.
Right. Right. So now all the companies that you have, are they all within like the call center industry? I mean, sounds like a lot of them are,
Yeah,
right?
so and then my third business is a logistics company called Phase 5 Fulfillment. So one of the call centers I acquired in Fort Myers, Florida, a couple retiring that told me most of my acquisitions were actually retirees. So they were like really great businesses. They just people that ran them that wanted to retire for the most part. And one of them
Right.
came with a warehouse that did direct mail and fulfillment, order fulfillment. So I steered it more towards third party logistics and e commerce fulfillment. And today we're one of the leaders in Florida for e commerce fulfillment 3PL. It's called Phase 5 Fulfillment. So that's my third business. The commonality I would say is service oriented.
Right.
Um, basically services and responsive in Phase 5 are B2B services, right? Call center and logistics.
Right. Right. Definitely. So when you first got started, how did you go from, one business to then starting to acquire other businesses in other industries? Like how was that transition?
Yeah, I mean, it was actually like very seamless and natural because, you know, I had this tech service company, Geeks on Site, initially in Miami and it grew nationally. And I wind up having a call center by accident because at first it was, either outsourced answering service or myself answering the phone. I wound up having my own contact center in at first in Peru,
Right.
to augment staff that I had here. Next thing I knew, I had a call center. Right. Next thing I knew, I had 100 people working for me at a contact center and not just call center, but back office and operations and different things.
Right.
And that led to me just knowing, like, I was a client of an answering service. I now had a contact center. So I wound up just naturally falling into finding out about the industry and that there were businesses for sale. And, Geeks was doing really great. And part of me was like a little like just ready for something new because I was already, Geeks ran very well on its own with little intervention from me. So I wanted to just acquire, and I wound up. Next thing I knew, I did about at least it was seven or eight. I lost count. 7 or 8 acquisitions. This was about 10 or
Right.
12 years ago. This occurred, um, and yeah, so that was a natural progression. And then the fulfillment there in Fort Myers, Florida, that was just an accident, right? Like this couple's selling their call center and they're also selling a logistics business. So I got into logistics. And so now today I operate the three businesses, but I have great teams in each. Jess is one of our leaders there at Responsive, and she's been in the answering service contact center industry for 20 plus years. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot has to do with just having a great team and great team members.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, team's definitely everything. So, like, what have you? What did you? What would you say has helped you attract that top talent? To be able to have that great team, right? A lot of business owners complain about having to hire constantly to find those great people. Like, how do you attract? Like, how did you get someone like Jessica that's doing a great job, that's got all that
I would say
experience?
there are a few ways. Just to as an example, I mean, you're from the industry. You're really great at what you do, and if you want to share anything, but we somehow
Yeah.
found each other.
Yeah, I'd love to answer that because I feel like I can speak on my experience. Like I joined Responsive about almost 3 years ago at this point, and I'd say what attracted me to Responsive itself is just the management is amazing. They really treat you as a person and not just an employee that shows up every day. They really care about what you have going on in your life. I just had a baby a few months ago, and
Congrats.
thank you. George texted me like literally 10 minutes after I had given birth. He's like, "Hey, I heard, congratulations." So and they constantly checked in on me during my maternity leave. So I'd say the just the warmth and the feeling of like you're not just an employee, they actually care about you. That's what I
Yeah,
would say attracts good talent and good people to Responsive, and it's partnered companies as well. And just to
100%.
add to that, I'd love to say that we have one employee that's been with us since 1989.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah, so
Jess.
like the
Wow. That's
longevity.
almost as long as I've been alive.
Me too. That's exactly what I say every time I run into that question. I'm like, for as long as I've been alive, this person has been with this answering service. So I'd say that,
Wow.
that says a lot. Nobody can really say that they've had employees for 36 years.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So let me ask you. So you run the business development side of things. So other than acquiring more call centers, like what is the focus as far as expanding the business now?
Great question. So there's a lot of organic focus across the three businesses, including at Responsive. So for our answering service business, there's a demand from businesses in the particular niches that we described earlier: medical, service companies, attorneys, and property management is another sector that we're.
Oh
So
yeah.
those are like the four main sectors, and within
Right.
service, there's a lot of subsectors: HVAC, plumbing,
Right.
landscaping, and some tech service as well. So a lot of it is just organic growth at this point.
Yeah.
Could we do more answering service acquisitions? Yes, but I mean, I paused on that to focus on just organic growth. I was very heavy acquisition at answering
Yeah.
service. Um, we may want to acquire in the 3PL space soon because we only have the one location in Florida. We're one of the leaders in Florida in fulfillment,
Right.
but there are, we've looked into having a West Coast and Northeast location at some point soon.
Nice.
I digress. Going back to just responsive, organic growth. So we're regularly adding clients. Every week we're picking up a few new customers through just various organic means and
Right.
referrals. We have a lot of happy clients that then tell their business friends, I guess, about us. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think time and time again, businesses forget that, especially when you're in B2B, business owners all know other business
Hmm.
owners. You know what I mean? So you have a happy client, they're going to tell people about you, and that's just going to be a natural occurrence is having other people reach out to you because so and so, is your client and they're happy,
totally.
right? Uh, it's so from how do you keep everything organized, right? So like I have I guess technically two businesses but multiple different sides of the business that we work in, from funding, credit card processing, business development, AI. How do you manage all these different types of businesses, or is it you just get the right management teams in place and then you're just checking in once or twice a week with that, the management side of
Yeah,
things?
that is a big part of it. So we have um, pre-scheduled weekly calls for like I'm on for each business um, on one or more pre-scheduled weekly calls, um, and and even more than that. I mean, so at Responsive, like we have one just about weekly, just about sales and marketing, operations. I'm in regular contact with their director of operations. So there's pretty much dedicated management for each business. We have some shared
Right.
resources, like we share IT, finance, certain like back office functions. They are
Right.
shared amongst the group, but then like certain core things, like for example, just does business development just for Responsive. We have folks in sales and business development, just in the other businesses. Um, and yeah, like under each director of operations, there is a whole team of supervisors or assistant managers that are helping with the mission, right, and the service.
Right.
We like to meet SLAs and service levels. That's huge for us. So like happy
Right.
customers, and yeah, so organizationally, that's more or less what it looks like.
Right. Great. And now, I've always been like, even before I started my first company, I've always been commission based, right? Like the more you work, the more you make, and I've always loved that side of business. It's not everybody's built that way, right? Like people like their salary and their guarantee each week and things like that. Do you offer, like, for your people that are running these companies for you? Are you doing some sort of commission or bonus buyout based on growth, or are they mostly salaried people?
It's a mix. That's a great question. So you have a mix of comp structures depending on roles and depending on departments. So some roles do have a commission and or bonus or target based compensation, right? So if he's
Right.
talking about somebody that's at a you know uh, director position, running an operation, responsible for P&L, part of their comp is going to be tied to the P&L's performance and EBITDA.
Right.
um, Someone like Jess that's in business development and sales, there are definitely commissions and targets for thresholds and targets and goals that allow that person to have higher comp based on performance.
Right, right. Right. I think time and time again, a lot of people, focus really heavily on the salaries, and then, they wonder why people don't outperform their expectations. It's like, well, you're not giving them an incentive to, right? Like, I think, more people need to look at that, because I think, I mean, as people, I think it's human inertia. Like, if there's an opportunity for you to make more money, you're going to do what's needed to do to make more money, right? Like, it's not always about the money, but it's the more you can do for your family and the nicer places you can vacation, and things like that, right?
Totally. And it also just depends on the role. There's certain roles that like lend themselves more towards like a commission and goal based, like definitely like business development being one of them. Whereas like
Right.
other types of roles, it's like you said, it's not all about money. There's other things that people will also value, like recognition, or maybe having an evaluation done, every period, every at least annually or so, um, of like, hey, you're doing a great job. The employer, like us, making sure like, okay, we want that person to stay, like especially somebody that's not commission based, for example, let's say a back office position or a support role. you know as companies, we want, anybody running a company, you want to retain good talent, people that are working hard for you and accomplishing that mission that was set out for them.
Definitely, definitely. So, um, I'd like to, talk a little bit more with Jessica about responsive. So, explain to me from the service industry, right? So they're getting calls constantly, whether it's sales calls or customer service, or whatever it may be. When another company is handling that, how are they then relaying that to is it like email based? Is it reports? Are you guys actually tied in with the company and scheduling and doing all that things as part of their company? Or tell me a little bit more about how that
Yeah,
works.
so it's a combination of everything, right? It depends what the
Okay.
customer wants us to do.
Right.
Natively in our system, we can send the information that we take either via email, via text message. If it happens to be more urgent or something that you wanted to be notified of more quickly, we can call you as well. There's reports, of course, that you can get daily, weekly, however you'd like. But more and more, our customers are asking us to tie in with their business. So at that point, they're
Right.
giving us access to their CRMs, whether that's through a form that we're filling out or just direct integration with API via Zapier a lot, so it's a
Right.
combination of everything. It's not one size fits all because every business owner runs their business how they do, but we do
Yeah.
our best to make sure that we fit in with the company so that we're not creating extra work for you. We're here to solve a
Yeah.
problem, not to create more work.
Yes, exactly. And then as far as like the cost, like it sounds like it's be something that's extremely costly, but I would assume it's cheaper than hiring a receptionist. So like how does that work out? Say they're a small landscaping company and they know they're missing a bunch of calls and they could be getting way more work, but they're constantly, working, so they can't be on the phone all day. Like how do you guys track that, that potential ROI before, closing that deal with a customer?
So our average customer spends about $350 a month with us. Our
Okay.
average customer. Where a
Wow.
receptionist, you're paying them at least $35,000 a year, at least.
Yeah.
So I'd
Yeah.
say that depending on the size of the business, we have several different packages. It's in usage, right? So from the moment that we answer that call until we disconnect from the caller and any, I guess, administrative things that are done thereafter, where it's sending an email or making that other phone call, that time is gauged in minutes. So the
Right.
plan is a set price per month. You have an allowance of minutes. If you go over the minutes in your plan, there's an overage fee above that per minute. But you can
Right.
change your plan each month as needed. So for
Right.
landscapers, a great example, if they're in the Northeast, they're not going to be very busy in the winter. So they can downgrade their plan
Right.
during the winter, and in summer, spring, when
Okay.
they're busy, they can rev it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Wow. I would imagine that it'd be a lot more expensive than that. Like
Yeah.
especially since you have callers in the US. So like how do you guys do that? Like how do you keep that price point so low?
I'm going to have George answer that because it is industry standard pricing. Like we're fairly
Really?
competitive. We're very competitive with our pricing, but we're not the cheapest, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, so the pricing is based on a per minute basis. So most answering services are billing per minute somewhere between $1 to $2 a minute. Um, Frankly, I haven't checked the rates in a little while, but we're somewhere around $1 to $1.50 a minute.
Right.
Jess can confirm or
Yeah,
correct me.
correct.
So an average client has usually around 250 or 300 minutes of usage per month. So at dollar 50, your average bill, like in our business, is around 300. Our
Right.
average client is getting a bill for around 300 plus dollars, $350.
Right.
Now that's based again all on usage. We have entire hospital systems that we're answering for hundreds of clinics. Then you have
Right.
let's say, just a small business that gets, you know, 30 calls a month, like one a call a day or two calls a day, 60 calls a month. Average call, let's say, is 3 minutes. Well, that's about, 100 or 200 minutes of usage. So your bill may only
Right.
be, 100, $150. Our starter plan is actually $29 a month, which just gets you at least, some basic answering. Some, if you're barely getting any calls, but you just don't want to deal with it, and you want to make sure
Right.
that if that one call or two calls a week comes in, that someone's going to answer the
Exactly.
phone professionally, say,
Right.
XYZ Plumbing, how can I help you? And I had the same experience again, starting my first company, that computer repair business. I wanted someone to always answer, Geeks on Site, how can I help you? And be very
Right.
professional and listen to that caller. So we're doing that for all these types of industries, right? Whether it's if you have a
Right.
doctor's office, you want those calls answered 24/7, let's say, because your in-house staff may be out to lunch, or after 4 o'clock, that urgent, those urgent calls come from, especially patients that just had surgery, or a
Right.
patient that, might, it's not a 911 call, but they need a prescription refill, or they need to talk to the on-call nurse at your practice, or the on-call doctor
Right.
at your practice. Um, plumbing example, like, that, let's say there's just a big leak at a at a new client, and that could mean hundreds, if not thousands of dollars of revenue for that plumbing business or for that HVAC business. So by having a call
Exactly.
center, an answering service
Right.
for, $1, $1.50 a minute, and not hiring that receptionist or that additional
Yeah.
employee, additional overhead.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a no-brainer.
Exactly.
If you're getting inbound calls, really, I mean, for any business, even if it's just to pick up the calls after hours, right? Like, I mean, I'm just thinking about the calls that we miss, um, after hours and even throughout the day. Like, is there a way um, to set the answer? Like, let's say it rings 6 times and none of my guys answer it. It will be answered by the answering
Yeah.
service.
Yes.
There's a few different
Uh,
use cases, right? You can have it ring a few times to your guys. If they don't answer, it rolls over to us. You can have it set up to
right,
where, let's say you close at 5 every day, you can have it set up to where at 5 it comes directly over to us, and 9 a.m. switches
right.
right back over to you. There's
That's
many
awesome.
different ways that you can set it up.
Okay. Yeah, I can't imagine why it wouldn't make sense for any business. Because again, you miss calls, like that's potential
Revenue.
Yeah.
revenue on the phone. Even if you miss two or three a month, how much is that? How much are you really losing, right? Even if it's a couple thousand, if you're only paying a couple $100 a month, it's, I mean, it's a no brainer. So how do people then get in touch with you guys, and what does that process look like to figuring out, well, how many minutes will you need? Do you guys do like a Zoom call where you go through their phone systems, or like what does that look like?
We don't necessarily go through their phone systems, but they can get in touch with us by visiting responsiveanswering.com. Fill out a
Okay.
contact us form. They can schedule a meeting with me directly on the website. From there, we go into how they want their calls answered, what information they need us to gather, and how, of course, how they want to receive the information. And kind of based off of that, I can come up with a number of like, okay, your calls are going to be on average about 2 to 3 minutes in length, or 3 to 5 minutes in length. If you're getting X amount of calls, this is the plan that I would recommend. But of course, they're free to start wherever they want. At
Right.
the end of their first month with us, we do go back and kind of analyze their usage and see if they are on a plan that's appropriate for their usage, or if they can benefit from adjusting whether it's up or down. We don't just contact you if we want you
Right.
to move up. We'll also let you know if you can move
Right.
down. So from there, we'll kind of work together on that and figuring it out.
Very cool. Awesome. So a lot of our guests will have something special for our viewers and listeners. What do you guys have for us today?
Yeah, so we are offering 15% off the initial startup cost of service. So if anyone that's interested, they could just reach
Awesome.
out to us, mention the podcast, and they'll get that 15% off their startup costs.
Very cool. So I'll put that information in the description, and put the link on there. You said it was responsiveansweringservice.com.
Responsiveanswering.com.
Oh, just
Yep.
responsiveanswering.com. Perfect. Awesome. Well, I appreciate your guys' time.
Likewise,
Thank you for
Shaheen.
having us,
Thanks for
Shaheen.
having us.
Thank you for hopping on. Great meeting you guys.
Likewise.
All right, I'll be reaching out soon. So I guess I'll be reaching out to you, Jessica.
Yeah,
Right?
Awesome.
please do.
Awesome.
Yeah, really.
Will do. I appreciate it,
Yeah,
guys.
Bye, Shaheen. It
likewise.
was a
Have a
pleasure.
good